What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Pure Evil MMA. I'm your host, as always, Evil Eddie here from MyMMAnews.com. Coming back after a crazy weekend that was with Justin Gaethje going in there against James Vick. It was a very exciting weekend. We had that bare knuckle boxing fighting championship 2 go down, where we even saw a couple of fights that we wanted to see and had fighters on not go through. We're gonna have the full story with that by the end of tonight. We're gonna probably have Mercy or Misfit Ferea joining us tonight, and then later on today at 8 p.m. we're going to be joined by Justin Sumner to come in here and talk about what happened on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series and jumping back into having a UFC shot. But until then, we have a very special guest joining us right now. We got Craig Allen from Fight Night Picks joining us here. And, first off, before I even introduce you here or even say hi or anything, man, all of my listeners been seeing me rock your merch lately. So I was actually really impressed. Like, after I went on your show, like, you sent me that little package, came with stickers. Like, you had the full setup, man. That looked really professional. And I've been repping it here. So it's finally an honor to have you joining us here on Pure Evil MMA.
Thanks, man. I'm really glad that you like it. I had a little table there set up. I was at Fighting Alliance 7 in St. John this weekend, so fans could come out and rock some of the merch, and we had a few takers, so hopefully we see some more of those Fight Night Picks shirts out there.
So, man, this weekend there was a lot of crazy events going on. I mean, even like with the internet world with Logan Paul versus KSI, that whole nonsense going to a draw. I mean, I'm not even going to waste time talking about that, but at the same time, like, I am a little happy that went through. Before we jump into the Justin Gaethje's fight, I'm a little happy that went through because if you look at the population of kids that are interested in it, like the YouTube generation of children out there right now, where the ages of 8 and 14, that aren't into mixed martial arts, but they might play the UFC video game. This is going to help them be interested to actually see some real fights, some real talent. And, we all start somewhere. For me, it was WWF. We all start somewhere. It's a new generation,
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a win-win situation. I mean, as much as people might want to bellyache on Twitter that, it dilutes the sport or it dilutes boxing, I mean, you saw them in the ring. They wear headgear, and it ended in a draw. So if there was any big money out there, gambling-wise, the bookies made a lot of money. But, I mean, as far as the fight goes, you're right. I mean, as far as teenage kids, younger kids watching it at home, there's just going to be a trick where it ends up in more kids in taking boxing, taking wrestling, jiu-jitsu, what have you. I mean, that's perfect. It just feeds up into that MMA base, and I'm sure we'll see the effects, in the coming years.
Which is actually, one of the reasons why they brought Brock Lesnar over. Like, even though that horse a different color, it's about getting people interested in the sport to actually see the real talent, which is why I even don't mind when they bring over CM Punk and stuff like that. As cringy as it could be, in the long run, there is a bright side to all of the frustration that the hardcore fans really get. But outside of that picture, let's talk about some of the biggest action that went down this weekend between Justin Gaethje and James Vick. I mean, I had the honor of interviewing Justin Gaethje probably about 3 years ago when he was in the World Series of Fighting. Not many people knew who he was. They didn't know who Marlon Morales was. World Series of Fighting had so many big names over there. We wanted to see what would happen if they crossed into the UFC. And we've seen David Branch, kind of a little struggle. But Justin Gaethje, man, he's been fighting some of the top talented guys, especially that first win that he had over against Michael Johnson, man. I was just like, holy shit. But every fight that he has is very close. This fight this weekend, I was like, he should not have that big of an issue with James Vick after facing, Eddie Alvarez and the wars that he's had. I mean, were you kind of surprised at the way this fight went? How did you see it going?
I mean, I had written a piece of, start of the week for the website, and I basically come out and said, Justin Gaethje, where's this spot in the division? I mean, what are we going to see from Justin Gaethje? Because like you said, I mean, he's had wars since he's joined. 104 strikes against Johnson, 122 against Alvarez, 115, and then he had received almost 2 more shots than he had given per minute in every fight. So I was kind of wondering, what could happen in this fight. I basically kind of said, Gaethje 1-2, coming off 2 knockout losses, lost the fight against James Vick. What do you do with Justin Gaethje? And he still has a phenomenal record from his time, like you said, in World Series of Fighting. And he was a great champion there, a lot of title defenses. But, what can we expect? And I was really surprised that in the ring, in the cage, he was a lot more reserved. He didn't go in there, go for the kill as soon as the bell went. He kind of took his time, and that's pretty easy to say when it was a minute and a half, and only 17 strikes landed, really, or significant strikes. But yeah, I was really surprised, and good for Justin Gaethje. I mean, it'll be interesting to see who they match him up with next. The talk is, potentially Tony Ferguson after the Poirier fight. I don't think he really thinks when he's in camp. I don't think he thinks about anything else other than camp, which is great to see. And I was a little worried for him because he said after his last loss he probably had 5 fights left. You're kind of wondering where his head was at. But overall, really impressed by Justin Gaethje. James Vick has to go back to the drawing board and try and figure out a solution because he's been knocked out by Beneil Dariush and Justin Gaethje in highlight reel fashion. It's interesting for both fighters. A lot of fights to make.
And you know what? He was actually doing really well. James Vick was doing very well. He had a couple of fights in there, a couple of wins. But Justin Gaethje, he really needed a win right now. I mean, he's back into contract negotiations. This is going to be the 4th fight inside of his UFC career here. He really needed to seal the win, especially after coming in, and having that fight against Michael Johnson. After he had the losses after, it was kind of that was really a close fight. I mean, is Justin Gaethje really at the level of the UFC? And I remember interviewing Justin years ago, like I mentioned, and there was a huge interest to see him come over. And another guy like Michael Chandler. I mean, you could say that Michael Chandler's on a different level, but look at the success that this guy's having, even though he's losing. Every time he goes in there, everybody knows that he's going to go in and put on an amazing fight, win or lose. And this time, he didn't even need to go into a crazy all-out war. I mean, he literally folded James Vick. I'm playing the clip here on repeat. Hopefully we don't get flagged for it on YouTube. But, he looked phenomenal in that fight. And to fold somebody like James Vick, after what James Vick was saying, it made a lot of people revolt at James. Be like, oh, you're getting cocky. And I was kind of against that. I was like, you got to really believe in yourself when you're going into a fight. People really don't understand that. And I know Justin wasn't going to take it to heart, even though it's really just to promote the fight. I think Justin knew that. Where were you standing when James Vick was like, I'm going to knock this dude out?
I mean, you kind of have to say that going into the fight. It's just I'm sure you saw the Bellator 204 when you had James Gallagher take on Ricky Bandejas. And, Gallagher went in there with a head of steam. He was so fired up. I'm going to end him. I'm coming off this long layoff. I'm going to win a title. And then he loses and he's humble afterwards. And I think we saw the same thing from James Vick. So it'll be, like I said, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Vick. And I threw down a comment there if you can see it. I mean, who does Justin Gaethje take on next? You look at the lightweight division and whether you put a lot of stock in the rankings or not, there's some guys who don't have fights. I mean, I'm looking at Kevin Lee, Edson Barboza, and Ali Quinta. I mean, I think those are possible fights for Justin Gaethje going forward. But I think he's going to want to fight forward, so he's going to want either Barboza or Kevin Lee.
He's going back into his contract negotiations right now as well with the UFC. Ali Abdelaziz is saying, I'd like to get him back in there within 6 months. At least that's what he was hinting in the post-fight interviews that we saw with John Morgan and crew. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind for Justin Gaethje to kind of take a little bit of rest right now, finish out the end of the year. In 6 months, I mean, where are we going to be? The beginning of 2019? That seems like a reasonable amount of time off here. But at the same time, we need more Justin Gaethje fight. I could see that every weekend. I could literally watch this kid fight every weekend. But with the way that he fights, even though this fight wasn't a war, you got to really reserve the tank, make sure that you're 100% healed. But then at the same time, you look at people like Anthony Lionheart Smith and you see the momentum that he's riding right now, riding that wave of wins, knocking out legends like Rashad Evans and just going forward, Shogun Rua. I mean, should Justin Gaethje keep up the momentum or should he take a break? What do you think here about this, Craig?
100% keep the momentum going. I mean, Anthony Smith, legend killer, if you want to call him that. His record just keeps on improving in the octagon. A lot of people forget about his loss to Thiago Santos, but he's doing really well, taking on Volkan Oezdemir, close to my hometown. He's going to be fighting a couple hours away in Moncton, which was a huge surprise that we got a UFC card coming out. So I'm really looking forward to that one. But I mean, as far as Justin Gaethje is concerned, I want to see him fight again. I mean, that was a quick fight. He hardly took any damage whatsoever. So it'll be great to see him back in. And like I said, I mean, Kevin Lee's looking for a fight. Edson Barboza got bullied by Kevin Lee in his last fight. So, really interesting stuff in that lightweight division.
Well, listen to this, man. Here's the thing. I wouldn't mind seeing him get put on the bench for a little bit unless you're really motivated to get a title shot And it comes into question, like, is Justin Gaethje a championship fighter in the UFC, or is he really just a fighter's fighter in the UFC? Like, is he really just there to put on, like, I would pay for a pay-per-view headlined by Justin Gaethje at this point. I really would. Obviously, I feel like a lot of fans would. But do you see him making it to the championship level, maintaining that? And, I mean, I give it a shot at this point, I guess. But I think a lot of people just really don't even care about him chasing the title. I feel like people just want to see him fight anyone, right?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the top tier of the division, and again, put whatever stock you want into the rankings. I mean, Conor McGregor's ranked number one. When was the last time he fought? So, I mean, Khabib, Conor, Tony, Poirier, Alvarez, I think those are all fights that Gaethje would lose. Barboza might be close, just because I think Barboza is kind of heading into the twilight of his career. Kevin Lee's one tough guy to fight. I can't see him winning that. I mean, Pettis, he's obviously got the fight against Ferguson. I honestly don't believe he beat Pettis. And then you kind of go down the list, and you're out of the top 10. So I think Justin Gaethje's more of he's a prize fighter, but what's the prize at the end? I think the prize is a fight of the night bonus. And I think if you have him as the main event, it makes sense.
So listen, what were some other fights on this card that really stood out to you that, you wanted to pay homage to? I mean, obviously Jake Ellenberger retiring, that was kind of a really sad moment, honestly, in my eyes. But what else stood out to you on this card? I mean, there's a lot of people saying that Touchy-Feely got robbed. I gave Philly the second and third. Where were you standing on that fight?
Glad you asked me that, because I know a lot of people would disagree with me on Twitter about the Feely-Johnson fight. And before the fight, I picked Johnson to win. I gave Feely the first round and the second round. And, I mean, if you go on Fight Metric and you just look exclusively at stats, Johnson definitely won all three rounds. But I had Feely based on distance management and the takedowns in the second round, so I had him 1 and 2. So I was kind of surprised by that decision, but good for Michael Johnson. I mean, he trains really hard at Hard Knocks 365. He's cornering a lot of fighters. He was at Bellator 204 the other week with Henry Hoof, so good for him. You had mentioned, Jake Ellenberger. That was a shame there. I mean, Brian Barberena, it was kind of, it was a tough one. I think he was like minus 800 or minus. No, he was one of the highest, biggest favorites in that. I think the biggest favorite was Eric Anders, minus 800 to minus 1,000, taking on Tim Williams, who's a guy that I'm sure you're very familiar with, fighting at a CFFC and some of the local circuits, and he actually had 2 fights against Anthony Lionheart-Smith where he got knocked out in both of them. So all 5 losses for Tim Williams now, all by finish. The fight that surprised me the least was the very first fight on the card. You're not going to be excited about it. Nobody's going to be excited about it, but I was excited about it. Ronnie Yahya with the submission victory, and I said, hey, everybody, go watch Yuri Alcantara's fight against Luke Sanders. Luke Sanders is wild. He's a guy that takes too many risks, and he got caught in heel hook. You watch the Ronnie Yahya fight, Ronnie gets him caught, and he's in the knee bar, beats him by knee bar. So that was the most exciting fight of the night for me.
You know what, Ronnie's actually a really, he's always supporting the Instagram page. That's a guy that's been around for a while now. But at the same time, for me, Ronnie's been so inconsistent. To take out somebody like Alcantara, who at one point in his career, nobody wanted to fight at all. I mean, I remember when Jimmy took the fight, and I was like, dude, that's a very risky fight right now for you, but he was able to get the win. Alcantara is a really tough customer. This was a really good card. I mean, Jojo Collar would get in the win. What did you guys think about it? Let us know on Twitter at evil_echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. And Craig, what's your Twitter and Instagram for everybody?
It's Craig Allen FNP on Twitter. Don't do the Instagram. I haven't gotten into it yet, but you can also find the company page at Fight Night Picks on Twitter. So hit me up there if you got any questions about MMA. Love talking with fans.
Well, wait, we're not quite done yet. A big part of some of our conversation, especially what you just kind of brought up there, Tony Ferguson versus Showtime Pettis. This is definitely something I really want to brush by with you that you just brought up. That definitely want to backpedal really quick and just discuss that. Of course, that was brought up this week, announced Showtime Pettis. Everyone's saying, oh, he's back on his grind right now at 155 pounds. He was bouncing back and forth between weight classes. He's trying to find like this new spark, this second wind, I guess you can call it. How do you see this fight going down, especially with Tony Ferguson, who, was the interim champion? I mean, I really feel like he got robbed there. Just this whole interim thing, a lot of people know how I feel about that. Your listeners, you've made your comments on it, but it's frustrating at the end of the day. How do you see this fight going down between these two?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a lot more competitive than most people are saying. Most people figure Tony Ferguson's going to be able to finish it quickly. And I'll be honest, I said it on my show, I'll say it on your show. I think Tony Ferguson's the best lightweight out there. I think if you put him up against Khabib, Conor, anyone, he can win that fight. I mean, against Kevin Lee, there were a couple spots where Kevin Lee, could have capitalized, but where he had a tough weight cut and the staph infection took a toll on Lee. So Ferguson was able to get the win, the interim belt, and then, of course, had that gruesome knee injury. And for somebody to come back at Tony Ferguson's age from a knee injury that was that bad so quickly, and he's 34 years old, so he's back in about 6 months from major knee surgery. You see all the videos on Instagram, on Twitter, of him in a pool with a barbell doing squats, on a skateboard doing squats. I mean, maybe none of it's real, who knows? But Tony Ferguson is a wild man, and he's one of the most dynamic fighters in MMA, not just the division, not just the UFC. I mean, the guy can throw capoeira kicks. He can throw anything he wants. He's an insane guy. So I think it's going to be a great fight. I think Ferguson takes it. But, I think Anthony Pettis is going to give him all he can bargain for. I mean, I think Pettis is returned. I think it's Pettis 2.0, and I think he really showed that in his last fight.
Listen, if Showtime Pettis can beat Tony Ferguson, it will definitely prove to me and a lot of other people out there that maybe he really is back, because Tony Ferguson, where he is right now in this point of his career, I think he's more deserving of a title shot over Khabib. I know there's a lot of people out there that might get mad at me for saying that, but that's a fight I'm really upset was never able to happen, at least before this point. But then again, I mean, I don't even want to see him book it again, because it's just literally cursed at this point. And you got to keep in mind that Khabib Nurmagomedov, the guy's undefeated. Everyone's driving off that. And I don't know. Did you think Tony deserved the shot more than Conor here? Because that's where I was, basing it off of. But with the performances that Khabib had and was able to stay kind of fresh there and get dominant performance wins over Edson Barboza, what he did to Edson Barboza was just, oh, holy shit. Can Conor deal with this? So part 1 of 2. What were your thoughts there? Did you think Khabib deserved it or Tony for the fight with Conor?
I think that neither. For Conor, I think the true title shot should have been Dustin Poirier against Khabib. I think that was the fight to make. I mean, Dustin Poirier, he just keeps grinding. He just keeps winning fights dominantly. He's another one of those guys, just like Tony Ferguson. There's all sorts of different ways that Dustin Poirier can win a fight, sitting at 24-5 with 1-0 contest. I mean, he's beat Eddie Alvarez, Gaethje, Pettis, had the no contest against Alvarez, and he just keeps improving, just keeps winning. So I think it should have been Poirier against Khabib. I understand bringing back Conor McGregor, tossing him in the rankings, giving him a title shot. I mean, you're setting up the end of the year well. I think 228 is a good pay-per-view. 229 and 230 are really good. And even 232, like we talked a little bit today, Nunes and Cyborg, I think that's going to be a good one as well. And then you get 231 from Toronto. So there's a lot of good things happening right now. But, yeah, I think Conor, for him, I think it would have made more sense to have a tune-up fight, have him fight a guy like Edson, Kevin Lee, one of those guys I mentioned, get him back in the ring, get rid of some of that ring rust. I mean, you think of when John Jones came back and fought OSP, and it was actually a good fight. I mean, OSP broke his arm, but he just kept going and went to decision. So give Conor somebody before he gets the title shot, but I do understand what they're doing there.
And that's, I brought this up, I forgot, one of my last interviews. We see that a lot in boxing, but we don't see that in MMA, and I would like to see that, especially after 2 years or something like that. You need a warm-up fight. You know what? It was against Atiq Jihad. This guy I interviewed, he got shot 12 times, and he's about to make a comeback right now after 4 years of being out of the game. So, and he was like, yeah, I need my warm-up fight, man. I mean, it has to be done. That much time off. But then again, like, look at freaking... the Korean Zombie. The guy was away for 2 years in the army, comes back and knocks out freaking, not Bermudez. Yeah, Dennis Bermudez. Knocks out Dennis Bermudez after 2 years being laid off. I mean, what is ring rust to some people? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. Dominic Cruz beat TJ Dillashaw after being away for 2 years. So it can work for you or against you. But I feel like Conor's weakness is the wrestling. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't know where I'm leading in this fight. I don't know. There's so much time in between that we're going to be able to talk about it. I just feel with the whole interim thing, Tony had the title. He deserved it. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, as far as Conor's concerned, I mean, you're tossing right into the fire. It's scheduled for 5 5-minute rounds. I mean, and you look at Conor in a longer fight. I mean, I I understand boxing isn't his foray, but you look at him against Mayweather, he looked tired near the end. I mean, I know he's rocked, but he was tired. And you look at him in the fight against Diaz, I mean, once it goes past the second round, or midway through the second round, he gets fast. So it's going to be tough, especially against a guy with such a mauling offense like Khabib. So I don't know. I mean, as far as it sits right now, I know we're a ways out, but I've definitely got Khabib in this fight.
Well, we've seen Khabib get rocked by like Daryl Horcher, who was like a nobody pretty much coming up from like Titan FC, I believe, at the time. We've seen him get rocked in a recent fight against Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson's knocked out, Dustin the Diamond, but Conor McGregor's just on a different level. The power that he has in that left hand, it's just something that we've never seen before. At least the mystique of it to this point, and there's no reason for us to ever doubt Conor because every time he's promised something inside the octagon, he's really paid for it. I mean, you can take away the Nate Diaz fight. But listen, he looked so good at 155 pounds when he fought at MSG. It's right behind me. He fought right at MSG against Eddie Alvarez that night, and I've always wanted to see him return at that weight class because he just looked absolutely phenomenal. The way that he was able to drop Eddie 3 separate times in that fight was just wow. And Eddie Alvarez is kind of the same game style where he's a wrestler. Let's look at when he got brought into the UFC. He was wrestling the shit out of Showtime Pettis so he can get to the title shot. That's what he was saying. He was like, before they even matched up that fight with Conor, he was like, well, I don't understand why guys just don't wrestle him. It's a little harder than that.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally a fair approach. I mean, we've seen Khabib take on strikers, like you had said, when he fought Barboza, and, some of his other wins where he totally dominates people. You look at the fight against Iaquinta. I mean, I know it was short notice, but he outstruck Iaquinta 134 to 41.
I was there.
6 takedowns. Yeah, I mean, that was the perfect fight. I mean, it's kind of tough. You say, he's kind of a discounted lightweight champion. But, yeah, I mean, in some of those wins, he outstruck Michael Johnson 94 to 19, outstruck Barboza 89 to 25, outstruck Daryl Horcher 75 to 6. So
how about that?
He's been dominant. He's been dominant since he's been in the UFC. And, yeah, I mean, I don't see him giving that title up easily unless he fought Tony Ferguson, which, I mean, who knows if that fight will ever happen.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on with this interview here. Last 2 topics is going to be 2 female fights that we're going to breeze through. Of course, it was just announced that Amanda Nunes is going to be fighting Chris Cyborg coming up, I believe, at UFC 232. Correct me if I'm wrong there on that date. But finally, it's going to be going down. This is the only fight I want to see for Chris Cyborg next. Maybe even Amanda Nunes, especially that Jermaine Durandamine is out of the picture. Are you excited to see this fight, and how do you see this going? Because honestly, I really think Amanda has a shot to beat Chris. How do you see it?
Really excited to see it. I mean, Chris Cyborg, Strikeforce featherweight champion, Invicta featherweight champion, UFC featherweight champion. I mean, she's only been stopped once, and she only got beat once, and that was early on in her career. So it's going to be really interesting to see her fight. Some more top talent in a bantamweight of Amanda Nunes. And I think the UFC's plan was she'd, hop up to featherweight, almost her natural weight. She'd fight Chris Cyborg for the title. Excuse me, but that didn't happen. So we're going to get a super fight between Nunes and Cyborg. And I had Heather Hardy on the podcast, and she and I talked about whether or not we'd see this fight, and she said yes. And I think the next step, I think Cyborg's going to get the win. I think she's going to remain featherweight champ. And then I think next summer, regardless of status of her UFC contract, I think she's going to fight Cecilia Breakout in a boxing fight. She's an undisputed multiple division, multiple weight class champ, and I think that's the fight to make.
Heather Hardy, man, I've got to kind of talk to her at the Bellator fight after she lost. She's a pretty cool chick. I mean, she was like an everyday kind of chick. She's just a good person. I don't know really much more to say about that, but honestly, I don't know what Chris Cyborg's route is here. I mean, she's even saying that she doesn't want to stay inside the UFC because of Bellator, maybe give her the world tour. But honestly, UFC, I mean, even with Michael Chandler, like I wanted to see him come over to UFC. You're always going to want to see what the fighter's going to do on the other side of the field, No one's ever going to be happy. Yeah,
I think the toughest fight for Cyborg right now isn't actually Amanda Nunes. If I was, a matchmaker, and this one won't make a whole lot of sense, but hear me out. I think Amanda Nunes is a great fight, but I think Julia Budd's the best fight for Cyborg. She's been a dominant champ in Bellator in the featherweight division. She's built like I don't know what. I mean, she's got one of the best physiques in MMA. She trains so hard. She's such a dominant champ. I mean, in her last fight against Toledo Nogueira, she absolutely mauled her. So I think that's the fight to make. I mean, Julia Budd's takedowns are so good. I think that's the one weak spot with Cyborg. We saw it in past fights with Holly Holm. We saw it against Kuniskaya. So I think that Julia Budd and Bellator is the MMA fight to make, but I really hope that boxing fight happens against Breakout.
Julia Budd's only lost to 2 girls. I remember interviewing Julia Budd years ago. She's lost to 2 women. I believe it's Amanda Nunes and Ronda Rousey. So yeah, she's definitely in that picture there of wanting to be, one of the top contenders in this picture. Especially there's not really many girls at 145 pounds. We're going to see what happens this season on Ultimate Fighter season 28, which reminds me, I guess they're going to be doing it on ESPN again after the season. But the finale is going to be halfway through November. It's like, I feel like that's so close. We just ended a season of The Ultimate Fighter. Here's another one on top of it. It's just like, I don't know. I feel the momentum dying, but I don't know. How do you feel about The Ultimate Fighter here?
I mean, I'm sure James McSweeney could talk about it, greater depth than I can. But I figured they were going to phase it out. With Dana White's Tooth and Egg Contender Series, that's kind of a strange saturation of talent where you have the best of the regional circuits in the states competing for a chance at a contract. So it almost kind of wipes out the whole tough, situation, show, format, whatever. But it seems like people still like the Ultimate Fighter. They still like the drama, and we're going to get to see another season.
People always love the reality shows at the end of the day, and it's opened up a lot of doors. Last but not least, the last topic that we need to talk about, Valentina Shevchenko is going to be going in there against Nico Montano, a girl who was on The Ultimate Fighter, so a really good segue for that. That's why I kind of threw it in there. But Nico Montano, everybody's saying, this girl only was on The Ultimate Fighter. She's not a real champion. She got handed the belt. Guys, do you remember her beating Barb Honchak on the season? Do you remember her beating Lauren Murphy on the season? That's the whole point of having these veterans on that season, to make sure that whoever gets the title shot is going to have to go through some seasoned veterans, and she's done just that. Yeah, it's been a minute. Valentina Shevchenko, you could say, is on another level. I've, talked to Valentina for years. Going back, I've interviewed her quite a few times, her and her sister, going through the Muay Thai circuit here through Connecticut. And I'm not saying I'm rooting against her, but this is mixed martial arts. Are people really out there still counting people out that don't think there's a chance of this girl to win? Did you guys watch the very first UFC where there were no weight classes? Do you guys know who Royce Gracie is? Like, anything can happen in mixed martial arts. But where do you stand on this? Do you think people, have every right to, kind of doubt her? Or how
it's a shame that she's being doubted because, her first her first MMA fight, amateur, was 2013. And since then, she won 5 amateur fights. She won 3 fights on the Ultimate Fighter, and she's 4-2 as a pro. And she's a champ, and everybody discounts her. I know she hasn't fought since, the Ultimate Fighter season 26 finale
against Roxy.
2017.
Yeah, against Roxy, who was another seasoned vet, a pioneer in women's mixed martial arts.
Yeah, exactly. So, everybody's going to try and discount it. I think it's going to be a more competitive fight than most people will assume.
That's all I'm saying. Yes.
Yeah, at the same time, you're talking about Valentina Shevchenko, who's an absolute, monster. She's got 4 knockout wins, 7 submissions, 4 decisions, losses to Nunez, both of them decisions, 1 split decision where I had her winning.
Me too.
And she got knocked out by Liz Carmouche in 2010. So, yeah, that's a tough fight for anybody to take, and especially after Valentina's last fight where she just absolutely destroyed Priscilla Cachiera. That was a tough fight to watch, and of course, we don't see Mario Yamasaki around anymore at the UFC due to that fight. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but I definitely have Shevchenko in that fight.
Yeah, that's all I'm really saying here is it's going to be a lot more competitive than people think. Look at, oh my God, why am I drawing a blank? The girl who won that season Ultimate Fighter with Ronda Rousey, her and Chris Holdsworth, what the hell is her name? Juliana Pena, right?
Yeah.
Juliana Pena, man, she had a pretty decent fight against Valentina. That's another girl who was on the Ultimate Fighter. You really cannot doubt Nico Montano here. We will get closer to these fights. The girl fights really fire me up the most throughout the year because they always put on, especially Valentina Shevchenko. The way that she goes in there, her combinations, what she did to Holly Holm, I think really put people on another level of really looking at who Valentina is, and a lot of people think that she's the champ. Like, she's the people's champ in a lot of eyes, but we'll see how she does against Nico here.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that, like you said, it's going to be an ultra competitive fight. And it's one of the ones that I'm really looking forward to. And I think UFC 228 in general, I think it's a really good card.
All right, Craig, so that does it for our little interview here on episode, I believe this is episode number 153 at this point, which is, blows my mind. But thank you so much for joining me here on the beginning of the podcast. Obviously, if you're watching this live on YouTube, this is going to be edited out or this little clip right here. But later on today, we also have Justin Sumner joining me at 8 o'clock, which is in just about 2.5 hours here. He was just on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. He's coming from Nick Newell's gym, that's where he trains over there at FAA. He'll be here at 8 o'clock. We're going to be doing it live on my Twitter feed for Periscope and also right here on YouTube. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. But let's get your finishing roll tags here. Craig, where can people find you on social media? And, before you even answer that, what's one interview that people can look up that you've done that you'd recommend? Like, what's your favorite interview you've ever done or best podcast people can look and go back and check out?
Well, it was a recent one. My favorite one it has to be my Bellator 204 preview show that we did a couple weeks ago. I had Heather Hardy. I had former 2-division champ in Bama, Terry Brazier. He was on. He's one of those really interesting fighters. You're going to want to catch him in his next fight in Bellator. Also had Andy Nesbitt, who is a former host of Fox's The Buzzer on. He's also associated with Bellator, hosts a show Between the Rounds with them. So we did a preview show, and then I had Logan Storley on, who was able to get the win over AJ Matthews quite convincingly. So that was pretty cool to have those guys on. And I really appreciate you having me on the show. You can catch me at Craig Allen FNP, at Fight Night Picks on Twitter. Find the website, fightnightpicks.net. You can find my content on YouTube, Fight Night Picks Podcast, as well as on iTunes and Stitcher. So thanks so much, Eddie, for having me on.
Of course, and I love doing these live streams because it adds like a different element. Like, I'll be doing the interviews, and then I'll get people tweeting me in my inbox saying like little funny things that's going on in the background, or like making fun of my dog or something. Like, I really enjoy doing the live episodes. So, guys, this is something that we're going to be doing more often here, and then we're going to be clipping them together for the iTunes channel. So thank you so much for joining me finally, Craig. And, guys, go check out the interview I did on Craig's channel, and his merch is on point, man. I mean, go check out some of his merch. You guys always see me rocking it here on Pure Evil MMA. Man, that shirt was like... It's one of my favorite things to wear to bed, especially because it's like so soft and cottony. I was literally blown away. I was blown away, man. I got some of your stickers, matter of fact, right here, which I thought was really cool as well. Here we go, right here. So, guys, go check it out. Fight Night Picks on iTunes as well, so go check it out. Craig, thank you so much. We actually have Kristen Ferrer calling me right now, which is crazy. Thank you so much, Craig. Have a great day.
Awesome, man. Thanks.
What is going on, Misfit?
What's up?
So this is actually really surprising. I'm actually live right now on the YouTube channel. I was just talking about Amanda Nunes versus Chris Cyborg. I opened the show talking about bare knuckle boxing, FC2 that went down this week, and the first thing I said was how upset I am that we didn't get to see you fight. What exactly happened here?
Oh my God. Well, okay, so I had an opponent.
Love this.
Then I had another opponent take the fight on 3 days' notice, which I got to give mad props to. For taking that bare knuckle fight on 3 days' notice, but failed to mention that she was on suspension. So she had previously fought 3 or 4 weeks prior, or 3 weeks prior, and wasn't up. Said she had a 15-day suspension. But it was up so she could fight, but she really had a 30-day suspension. So when the commission looked at her, after she came in, weighed in, and everything was official, they canceled it. I went to sleep. I always take a nap before my fight. I take a nap, get relaxed, before I head down to the stadium. They woke me up and said, hey, they need to see you downstairs. And I was like, who needs to see me downstairs? They're like, Nate Shook, he's the matchmaker. I was like, okay, I already know what this is about, because the matchmaker wants to see you on fight day about 2 hours before your fight. You're not fighting. So I go down there and they explain to me that, the situation that I just said. So that's what happened. Super disappointed. I was, everybody sees my training videos, and I'm training my ass off, and I'm like, I was peaked just perfectly, and I didn't get to punch somebody in the face. So I'm super, super disappointed, but I'm just gonna get on, rest up for a couple days. Let me recover from the training camp I've been in for about 5 months, literally, because I was preparing for a fight prior to this. That got canceled. Then I jumped right into another camp. So I'm just gonna rest up. I'm gonna give myself a week. I'm still gonna do my cardio and stuff, but a break.
Well, don't they have another bare knuckle boxing card coming up with like Chris Lieben on it? Like I believe the end of September here. Or would you try to get on that card, or did they make you an offer? Like,
Isn't that WBKF? That's a different one.
oh, that's a different one.
I believe so. I think there's two promotions right now that are out there.
WBKBFC. Yeah, that's probably right.
BKFC.
Yeah, obviously. So.
And I know there's a card coming up in October, and we're negotiating right now. So for what's going to happen for this one.
So obviously you didn't get to fight here. Did you immediately start picking out on food? I mean, did you just like kind of get into like a what the fuck moment, or I mean?
No, we were trying to salvage it for a while. We were trying to get a hold of the boxing commission. We were trying to doing everything. Bobby Gunn was involved. He tried to get the commission. He was trying to salvage the fight for me.
The soccer mom in there.
We were all on it trying to find something, and it's hard to get a hold of the commission. And like 99% impossible or a chance of getting a hold of the commission on a Saturday. So we tried our best. We called everyone. I called all of my connections I had. I called all of Bobby's connections and a couple other guys at the promotion, City Athletics here in Las Vegas, was trying to help me out. I mean, we were all trying to salvage this fight, and we just couldn't do it. When I found out, it didn't sink in until I started seeing people fight. Like when I was in the stadium, I was like, okay, I'm not even gonna have a drink because what if I'm still fighting? Like I just felt like I was gonna fight, and then once I started seeing like the other guys fight, and I was like, oh, I'm not fighting. Like this is not gonna happen. So I went and had a couple drinks.
Did you say something to the girl who didn't tell anybody? Like how do you not say that you had a suspension? Like that's number one.
See, I don't know, like, the whole... I think she did say she had a suspension, but it was up. I don't know if she knew, but why would she travel all the way here to weigh in? Well, I guess she would just to see if she can get by with it, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, I think she obviously wanted the money or, the fight. As she came down here, she was late for weigh-ins. Obviously, the weigh-ins, I didn't have anybody to weigh in with. It's just better. It's two girls in one fight camp. That something happened, So I don't know, I don't know the whole real story. I know what I was told. I just, you know what I mean. So.
Has this ever happened to you before, where like you've gone to a fight and then it just completely went to shit?
No, and that's the thing. Is like all this shit that's happening to me right now. Excuse my language. I'm sorry. All the stuff that's happened to me right now, like, I know other fighters have gone through it, or it's even been, I think this is the worst it can get, your fight day, and it's canceled. But I've seen, I know a lot of fighters, this has happened to a lot of fighters, so this has never happened to me out of 20-something fights, so I'm thinking, like, okay, it was bound to happen one day. That's how I'm looking at it. I'm trying to stay positive so I can get ready for my next fight. I got to let go of anything old because I need to start focusing on getting strong, staying sharp, so I can take the belt from Vick. Because I seen her last fight and I was not impressed, man.
Yeah,
She won by split decision by someone she should have knocked out in the first round. So, she's in trouble. And if she ducked me, she's been ducking me since I've been on the scene, and she's not gonna be able to duck me after I knock two people out. Knock this next opponent. I'm gonna knock someone out. She's lucky I'm not getting her this next fight because I'm way better than her. I should have her next fight. Like, there's no reason for me not to be in line to fight her this next fight. Like, this is a new division for a new combat sport, and I'm gonna take it from her, and I'm gonna run it until someone else comes in that takes it.
It's literally within arm's reach right now, and there's not many girls that people know are fighting in this organization. You got Beck Rawlings, obviously the number one target, which is why I was so upset when your fight fell through, because I feel like you're so close, you're right there. They're mentioning you on big podcasts. Like I heard them talking about you on MMA Roasted. Tanya Evinger was talking about you on MMA Roasted. Like I immediately messaged you about it. Like people were promoting your fight. They wanted to see you get in there. So it was a real letdown. We need to see you get in there and get after this because it's right there. Like I could see this going down. Like you versus Beck is the fight.
It is the fight. Business standpoint, I understand kind of what they're doing. You know what I mean, and that's fine. And I'm willing to do the hoops I need to jump through and earn my spot. And then I'm gonna take it. And another thing for Tanya Evinger, she mentioned me and called me a brawler, and I think she needs to learn a little bit more about stand-up before she calls me a brawler. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
No, yeah, they were like Adam Hunter. He was like, yeah, isn't that the girl that beat the shit out of Rachel Ostovich? And Tanya was like, I wouldn't say beat the shit. And Adam was like, I saw that fight. She got pretty beat up there. Tanya just like wasn't having it. I was like, oh, I knew you would enjoy that though.
Maybe Tanya needs to rewatch that fight, or maybe she's like blinded by the ass and the titty that I don't know, like every other person is.
Have you ever talked to her before? I mean, she said that you were on the same card as her, or have you ever seen her before, Tanya? Before, like backstage?
I've never seen her. Like I went and partied with her when I got really drunk after my last. I thought we're cool. Like there's no problems between us, but calling me a brawler and that I didn't beat up Rachel Ostovich was like threw me off. Like there's no problems between us. Like we're cool. Like I went and got so drunk I don't remember the night, and I know we were chilling, but I don't know where that came from. I guess Rachel Ostovich must be her friend. Obviously, she's not going to sit there and say her friend got her butt beat by me.
Well, that must have been pretty cool. Like, I would love to chill with you and Tanya. Like, that sounds like a pretty cool party. Was this like a fight party, a gym party? Well,
it was after the Karina, the last Invicta. She was there, and then I seen her at the hotel, and I was getting pretty tipsy there, and we ended up. I don't even know how we ended up out together, to be honest with you. Because after that fight, my hand was broke, and it was hurting so bad. I just kept drinking until it went numb, and then I kind of don't remember the night.
I feel like a lot of people out there would love to see Tanya Evinger get into the bare knuckle scene. Like, I feel like she is like the perfect person to kind of fit in there. And I always say this, people might get mad, but she reminds me of the lady from Monster, the serial killer from that movie Monster, the true story. Eileen Wuornos.
I don't know who that is.
The serial killer. But I would love to see that. So obviously in this organization, what other girls are there that you can really, have your eyes set on? Like, what are the next steps here of moving forward for them, like finding an opponent?
Well, they're bringing in other girls, and they're bringing in. I can't say any names or anything. Like I just know that they're bringing in some really good boxing girls and some really good girls that are legit. And it's gonna be a stacked division, and there's gonna be some people there that you might not have thought are gonna be there. So it's not like. I'm looking past Beck and everybody's in there now because that's not even close to the competition that's coming, in a I don't know how many months or how long, because I know other people are in contract so they can't quite come over yet. So I just know that this Beck is far. That's not even close to my worries as in beating me. You know what I mean? Or someone that I just know that I have to be in real good shape for Beck. That's about it, and be able to take a punch. But she's not technically sound. That I'm worried about. Like, oh, she's gonna out punch me, outwork me. It's not even a question in my mind. But I train for everybody the same. Like I train like I'm fighting Chris Cyborg. You know what I mean? Like in my mind, everybody's Chris Cyborg, and I gotta train. But I just know that she's not the one to beat. That's for damn sure.
So listen, before we let you go here, where are you right now? Like, are you on your way home from the event? Like, you had to take the airplane?
I got home. Yeah, I got home yesterday, and I'm actually just went to go pick something up to eat.
I don't blame you.
I'm going to eat a couple, eat for a few days, and then get back in there. I went to the gym earlier and kind of went to the sauna to sweat out all the alcohol, and I'm back. I'm not drinking anymore until after my next fight. No.
What are people at the gym saying? Because obviously they were looking forward to see your fight, I'm sure. What was the response when you got back home?
Everybody's just really like, what happened? Everybody doesn't understand what happened. I'm glad that I got to call you and talk to you about it, because then I can post this. Just that they don't know what the hell. Like, it doesn't make sense to anybody. You know what I mean? Like, what? Because I posted that it was a athletic commission, like a technicality.
That's all I saw too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just trying to salvage the fight, so I didn't really get into it too much. So yeah, I'll be able to, like, hopefully now I can post this and then people will understand, you know?
That had to be so weird, like sitting there, like in the crowd, knowing that like you're supposed to be fighting, the card hasn't started yet. Like that had to be so like a mental battle you were just going through. Was it kind of exhausting in a way? Like, did that take a lot out of you mentally? Right?
Well, yeah. And for me, like, I'm the most mentally strong that I've ever been in my whole career. So I'm prepared. I think I like prepared myself for this. So I am like, okay, you know what? Trust the process and move on, because I can't dwell on this. I worked my ass off, but you know what? I'm going to be even better now for my next fight.
You know, it seems like that's been your attitude about it. Like you're just really playing it by ear. You're not really, you're committed to it 100%, but you haven't really seemed sure 100% on it. So it's a good attitude to take, so it doesn't really affect you too much or set you back, because there's still so much more to look forward. Nothing really happened, but it must have been just mentally exhausting.
You just gotta adjust. If you can't adjust in this game, and if you can't accept like crazy crap to happen, you're in the wrong place. Yeah. Especially being a fighter, you have to be super mentally strong. And I think that's why I haven't reached the heights yet, because I wasn't ready for that yet. You know, I think now I'm ready to be able to take that and move on and like dust off my shoulders. Just like in a fight, I get knocked down, it ain't nothing. You get back up and you knock them out. You know what I mean? So. Yeah.
100%. Like, I'm so happy that you called in during the live stream for the podcast to kind of clear this up. I was like, so lost. There are a lot of people out there that want to know what happened, and it seems like you got the right attitude here moving forward. So I'm motivated right again. Like I'm ready to see you fight again. So hopefully we'll be able to get that going soon. Thank you so much for calling in. Before you leave here, is there anything else that you want to get out on the table? Tags, sponsors, anything at all? The floor's all yours.
Yeah, I got to thank the fight lawyer in Las Vegas, Mike Clausen, my lawyer, Sin City Vapor, just for supporting me, Fremont 9. And these guys put so much money into me, and I didn't fight. So I just want to say, check them out, check out their site, and support these people, man, because they're giving their all just for me, you know.
Well, for right now, make sure you get your taste buds nice and satisfied, get something nice to eat tonight, and, we'll see you back in there soon. Thank you so much for calling in.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, Misfit.
Okay.
Wow, that was a real surprise guest right there. Misfit Ferea calling in, Misfit. I mean, there were so many people who were like, what's going on for BKFC2? Why isn't this girl fighting? We heard her on MMA Roasted, like Tanya Evans, you're talking about her. Like, what happened? Exclusive interview right there, guys, here on Pure Evil MMA Live, just like that. And that's another reason why I really like doing the live shows, because it seems like anything can happen at any point, where it's just like I wasn't expecting her to, like, the last place I left off, I think I texted Misfit this morning, and I was like, hey, if you want to call in at some point today, let people know, 5 minutes, you can even pre-record it if you want, but, you should let people know. And then, she was, or this was actually yesterday morning. She was like, oh, I'm on my flight home, blah, blah, blah. And then today I messaged her again. She was like, yeah, you should just easily call Mercy. Mercy will fill you in, because Mercy was there. So I was going to hang up, and I was going to call Mercy either after the Justin Sumner fight, which is in about 2 hours here, or 5, 6. Yeah, about an hour and a half. And that's also going to be live right here. He's going to be joining me sitting back here on the couch. But and we'll clip that in here as well, part of the podcast on iTunes, once you guys... if you're listening on iTunes, obviously you're not going to hear this clip because I edited it out, talking about posting the clip on iTunes, blah, blah, But anyway, Justin Sumner going to be joining me here at 8. That was really awesome of Misfit to call in. Craig Allen calling in to start off the show to talk about what happened this weekend. Justin Sumner, like I said, just on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series with Nick Newell. Both of them going back to Connecticut with an L. So we're going to hear what they had to say about that experience and what's next for the four. So guys, thank you so much for joining me here on part 1 of this live stream. Tune in at 8 o'clock tonight Eastern Time, just 2 hours away, to see part 2 of this episode of this podcast here on Pure Evil MMA. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below here on YouTube, and make sure you hit that notification bell, because YouTube does not let you know for some reason when I start doing my live streams. And you know what they say, generosity makes you happy. So hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe. We got 100 new subscribers here on YouTube. I thank you guys so much. If you're not already subscribed on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, Stitcher, here on YouTube, make sure you guys jump on board there, because anytime after we go live, it immediately goes up on iTunes, which goes to Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, all that good stuff, guys. But I'm going to go hydrate myself, get ready for the next interview here. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, MyMMAnews.com. You guys remember, without evil, there's no purity. Behave yourselves.